Alrighty, let's see. It says we are live. I just want to confirm real quick. Alrighty, let's see. It says we are live. I just want to confirm. Alright, shouldn't be getting playback anymore. Awesome, let's see. We get some people coming in, but obviously this is a little hangout stream before FD Atlanta, which I leave for tomorrow, and it's gonna be a fun one. Honestly, I'm pretty excited for it. I'm just looking at the battles now, and I'm pretty pumped. What's up, Candace? How's your night going? That's weird. What's up, John? Sick. I'm excited. Yeah, I always love going to. What's up, Aaron? Yeah, I always love going to Atlanta. It's probably one of my favorites. What battle you most hyped for? Oh man, there's a couple in here, and I'm gonna go through all of that. I'm excited. Just waiting for a couple people to get in here. What's up, Q time? Yeah, and for me, I have a lot of good relationships with a lot of the Prospec guys, so obviously I'm pretty hyped for the Prospec guys as well. So, if you guys can just quick let me know if I sound all right. I am trying. This is my first time ever using Streamlabs, and it was a pain in the butt to set up, but I'm finally got it working at least, and I can now. Let's say I wanted to throw a YouTube video up, and we can all hear audio now, unlike last time where it didn't work. So, figuring my stuff out, but I appreciate everyone hanging out. Unfortunately, Herbie couldn't make it tonight. He's hanging out with Bystrack, and they are still trying to get their car tuned, because they're still putting that together. And I don't know. I'm excited, and I'm just kind of looking at the board here. I'm gonna let a lot of people, a couple more people get in before I start going into stuff. But thank you guys, Devin and Candace. It's I don't know. Like the thing about Atlanta is the people are so cool. Where you're just in this bowl, and you're surrounded by all of the audience, and they're going crazy, and it's nighttime, and just the smoke just stays in the bowl, which kind of stinks for filming, kind of sucks if you want to like see anything, but like the atmosphere is amazing, and oh, I just can't wait to get things started, and especially with the new formats and all the battles stuff now, and no single run qualifying. Oh, it's gonna be so amazing there. I'm curious what battles you guys are kind of looking out for. If you want to throw those in the chat, I'm excited, and even going into Atlanta, there's a bunch of really interesting storylines. So obviously Vaughn, I believe, is driving, and he obviously won the event last year. So the question is he going to do it again? Obviously storybook finish to what was a terrible weekend to start at Long Beach for Dean, burning his car to the ground and then going all the way to win it. Like, that's an incredible story. So now what's Vaughn gonna do? And the thing is you guys gotta remember in your head, like, some of these guys that aren't driving around, and even for example Adam is going to be driving in Atlanta too now because he couldn't make it out to DMEC. So that's another new guy to throw into the pan. That's going to be a nice little monkey wrench into everything. But yeah, so like let's say Vaughn and Dean are getting to like top 4, top 8, and they go against each other, and Vaughn beats Dean or something. I mean, the repercussions, and you have to think about this kind of stuff, is like Dean may need those like extra 20, 30, 40 points at the end of the year if he wants to go win the championship. And I'm really curious to see how that side works out, and it should be like, I know it's had to have cost a couple different drivers, in the past, where their teammates have, obviously beat them and then cost them at the end of the year the championship. It's just a little different now that we have some guys that only run a couple rounds like Vaughn and LZ. So that should be some fun. But I actually want to get started with Prospec. I think Prospec is the really interesting part of this round, and I want to make sure I'm on the right page. I am. And so let's check out the Prospec battles. All right. Let me know if you guys see the Prospec battles on the screen. I think it worked. Obviously, it looks like it works. But up here we have, obviously, a lot of some of these guys we saw last year. A lot of them we did see last year. And I think the cool part is going to be seeing how the guys that how they actually progress this year. And then the other curious part is going to be see if any of these rookies, kind of stand out. There were a couple of rookies that stood out last year. Cole Richards is a guy that comes to mind that stand out last year when he started. So I guess I'm curious who are you guys kind of looking at? I see Eric. Yeah, Eric Medici. Obviously, he's got a big following. I'm curious to see if his driving's a little bit more consistent this year. I'm not sure how much he actually is able to drive that car, obviously not being from America. Is Dimitri going to use his drift car? No. So Dimitri has a Prospec car and a Pro car. So the Prospec car is the same car he's driven in the last couple of years in Prospec. His Pro car is Michael S.'s old Pro car. So they're two different cars, even though they look exactly the same. They have minor differences. I think power, and I think some of the parts are a bit different on the two different cars. And obviously one runs the bigger tire, but yeah. So the plan is obviously for Dimitri to run both, which will be interesting to see. But yeah, so obviously you look first battle Tyler Foley. He was a guy that I think was trying to get his car figured out. A lot of the way through the season. Had some potential, especially I think by the end of the year he had a decent run. So obviously he gets the bye, which is great to have for the first round, and then we get into Alan Boss and Brandon McDowell. Obviously, two rookies. I know both of these guys from a long time ago. I've known Brandon for a long time. I've known Alan for a long time. I actually went to a pro-am event like 4 or 5 years ago with Alan. Unfortunately, his car blew up and he wasn't actually able to run the event. I felt really bad. But he's obviously progressed a lot since then. And I'm really curious to see how he's going to be this year. And obviously, Brandon McDowell, if you guys don't know him, that dude's a shredder. Obviously works at Njuku and has this crazy 350Z. He's probably going to be one of the guys that has probably the most smoke out there. He loves his... I think it's wheel speed. He loves wheel speed. But he is a guy that will... The way his driving style is his foot to the floor, and it doesn't leave. And it's so much fun to watch him drive. So he's actually low-key a guy, I think you guys should be watching for throughout the season as a rookie that, possibly could compete for Rookie of the Year. So, and he's been around too. So he's done all kinds of the clutch kickers competitions and all that kind of stuff. So I'm really excited to see this. Let's see. What's up, Frosty Feet? Lee Yearwood is going to be interesting. Yeah, I agree. We'll get to his battle right after this one. So Corey Talaska and Louis Lins. Obviously, Corey's an interesting one because I've known him for a long time, and he's one of those guys that you'll watch in practice and in qualifying, and he'll just lay down perfect lap, great laps. And then with him, it's all mental game. As soon as he gets into battle, something weird happens, something goofy happens with the car or him, and it always seems to follow him around, and it's really, it's sometimes it's frustrating because you watch this guy in practice just kill the course, and then when it comes to competition, so hopefully he's going to be getting over, getting more used to the competition side, and getting better with that kind of style. And then obviously Lewis, I've watched him a couple times. I think I've seen him a couple times in Clutch Kickers. I think he was at the 50K last year. And so he's a really solid driver, really good driver. I assume he's driving a Corvette. That's what I've seen him drive, is a Corvette. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but he's a super solid, super consistent driver. So I think that's actually going to be a really good battle, and really interesting to see. Obviously Corey's I think it's his third year in Prospec, so obviously curious to see how that experience kind of lines up with Lewis, and obviously being the rookie there. Moving on to the next battle. Daniel, and I always forget how to say his last name. Malvezio. Obviously rookie last year. I remember talking to those guys. They were just trying to figure out that car. I'm hoping this year that he's got some seat time in the car, and he's got it, got the thing dialed. And this is the thing that you see a lot of rookies is they build a new car for Formula Drift, and everything's new. The power's new, the tires are new, the suspension's new, the steering is new, and a lot of the times they'll find issues, and they're just trying to fight through all the issues all year. And so hopefully he's got that car all figured out, and it's going to be a lot more consistent this year, and that's going to be interesting to see. And obviously then we have Lee Yearwood, the guy that's going to be, celebrating RB powered. And the thing is I've watched that guy in so many different battles and a couple different cars. I'm not sure if he's bringing the BMW. That was the last car I saw him driving, but that thing was pretty rowdy. And he's a fun driver. He's a very, how do I put this? He's I don't know if he'd say aggressive, but he loves to just hang it out there and put the pedal to the floor and just let limiter rip. So I love watching his driving style. And he'll be a fun guy to watch throughout the year. And it'll be cool to see a different, different engine sound out there as well, opposed to a lot of these. Because a lot of these other guys, you're either running an LS or a JZ for pretty much all these guys. There might be, I think there's a Mustang, so probably a Mustang engine in here. But I can't, off the top of my head, I don't know if there's even any other engine platforms apart from, whatever. I cannot think right now. What's the Mustang engine? 5-liter Coyote. That's what it is. So I think everyone else is either Coyote, LS, or 2J, I believe. So the next battle, and this, oh man. This might be my early pick for best battle of Prospec to start off, and that's going to be Margaritas. Good luck saying the last name. Castanitis. He was really consistent last year. Really, he seemed really solid, and he's just gotten a lot better. Watching him drive, throughout, different LZ World Tours and different events, he's really seemed to be at home in his BMW, and it'll be curious to see, obviously. And then Tommy Lemire, he actually drove Pro 2 back in the day, did very well, and is now making a comeback. And he might be my early pick for, I don't know. I guess he would. All right, chat, answer me this question. Would he be a rookie since this is his first time in technically Prospec, or the fact that he ran Pro 2 back in the day, does that disqualify him from Prospec? Or actually, he might have ran the first year Prospec. I can't remember. They all run together for me sometimes. But I think he's a guy to watch this year. He is a ripper from Canada. Seen him drive over the years. I watched him over in LZ World Tour, and he ended up winning the LZ World Tour up in Canada last year. Well deserved. Great driver. Has a really nasty car. S15 LS powered. That thing's super fast. So I think he's definitely a guy to watch. And if he's technically a rookie, I'm not sure. But if he is, he would definitely be might be my pick for rookie of the year. But we'll see. And then the next one we have Cody and Chris. Chris, I believe, man, why? He's the guy that ran the Mustang last year, I believe. Again, another guy looked like a new car, needed to iron out some things. So hopefully he's getting a lot more seat time and getting things more dialed in with that car. And Cody, I know from events like LS Fest, where he has a rowdy sounding Corvette. Uh, that I believe I know it's supercharged. I'm just trying to remember. I think it's centrifugal. I don't know which brand. But that dude loves to make noise. That'll be a really interesting battle, obviously, because you got Chris, who's second year in that Mustang. And then you have Cody, who is, a rookie coming into FD. So another real interesting battle there. And next up, how did these guys get put together? Matthew Bystruck and Ricky Hoffman. I mean, FD has a funny way of putting guys together that have known each other forever. Actually, I believe I was just watching Bystruck's story, and Ricky Hoffman's helping him get this car started. So it'll be really funny to see them battle. In the first round, which is kind of funny. Obviously, if you don't know these guys, Ricky's got 2JZ, I believe, it's S14, I believe, S14, and Bystrack wasn't an S13. I believe he's making the switch over to a Mustang this year, which is what they're rushing to get put together. This should be a fun battle. Obviously, I think Ricky's got the upper hand, assuming he's running the same car that he's ran in previous seasons, just because of the familiarity. But I'm curious to see if Bystrack has found some, more grip out of the Mustang, and whether it's going to be a faster chassis or not. Should be another really interesting battle, especially because they're good friends and they're both from the Northeast. Looking down at the bottom, we have Justin Chestnut and Douglas DJ Stubb. I don't know Douglas, and so if anyone in chat knows Douglas and give me a quick rundown on him, it's a rookie. I know almost all of these guys, but he's one of the few guys that I'm gonna have to get to know. And he looks familiar, but I can't put a face to a car right now. And then obviously Justin Chestnut, rookie last year, came in with the BMW M2. Great looking car. Obviously another new car for him, and it's it takes time to get those cars dialed in. And he's another guy that I think he'll be a lot better this year, and it'll be interesting to see how he handles his sophomore Prospec season. And then moving up to the top right, we got Sam and Human. Oh, and this will be a fun battle. I love Sam's car. He's actually, speaking of Sam, he's actually another guy that doesn't run an LS or a 2J or a Coyote. He runs the BMW. Which BMW engine is it though? I can't remember which BMW engine's in his car. It might be an M50. A built M50, if I believe that was correct. But he's a great guy, and again, new car last year, was trying to get that thing all dialed in for the first couple events. Definitely curious to see where the progression is with him. So this will be a sophomore season. And then Human, obviously everyone knows Human. He is obviously in the usually bright colored 350Z turbo LS, and I would consider him probably a fan favorite out there. Great guy, and the thing with him is he every year he's been a little bit more consistent, it seems. And another guy, and I would consider a Prospec veteran at this point probably, and should be another fun year with him and the boys. So it'll be a good battle. I like that battle. I think it'll be a good one. And then actually, the next battle down, we got Adam and Brian, and two guys. I feel like I should know Brian, but I can't think of the car off the top of my head. So two guys I don't know. So should be really interesting. And the thing is I talked to a lot of these guys. Obviously, working with Link, and I meet a lot of these guys because they all are running the product during the season. So I'm excited to get to know, obviously these new guys, and should be a really interesting season. And then moving into the next battle, Adam and Nick. Why do I know Nick? I know that name, Nick Jimenez. Another guy that I can't. Why do I know that? Another guy that I know the name, but I can't think of the car. But then we got Adam. Obviously, Adam's Prospec. I would consider him veteran at this point. And the thing is he always, it seems to be some of the time he'll put down an amazing run. Sometimes it just seems like the car just wants to fight him. So I'm really hoping for a consistent season out of Adam. I think he's got the talent, and the car is pretty nice. So it's just kind of putting those things all together for him and getting some good traction with him. I'm curious to see how he does this year. All right, and then back all the way down to Eric and Josh. Eric, obviously fan favorite out here, coming from Brazil, has a crazy sounding car. His car's got gunshots going off all over the place, and then you got Josh. I'm afraid I don't know Josh either. So curious to see rookie season Eric coming in. I believe this is his third year, if I'm not mistaken. And he looked pretty. He was getting more consistent last year. I'm really curious to see how Eric does this year. And Josh is not getting an easy entry into Prospec, that's for sure. So it should be a fun battle. Moving on down, Sean and Casey. Sean and Casey. All right, so Sean's got a black 350Z, really cool looking. It seemed like a really consistent driver. And I think, it's for him, it's just putting that last little bit together to kind of push him through. But he seemed like especially during practice, I've noticed he seemed to be pretty solid when the car was working. And then you got Casey. It's considered a Prospec veteran at this point, and really, I think, is getting the consistency down. And then with him, it's for him at this point, he's looking to be in the top 8, top 4s. Like, that's kind of his goal, I think, this year, is to be consistently doing well and getting through these battles. So should be a really solid battle to see these guys go at it. And then moving on to Alex and Clark. I'm afraid I don't know Clark. I feel like I should. I know I've heard a couple of these guys. I just can't think of the car that they got going. And then obviously Alex, a Prospec veteran at this point. He's been around for a little while now. Another guy that is, getting more consistent every year. And I mean, the thing with him is being that consistent and keeping the speed on and all those elements, and just making sure, that he's not, making the mistakes and stuff like that. So curious to see how Alex is progressing this year. Should be another solid year. Then at the bottom, we got Amanda and Richard. Richard Avani, unfortunately, his car kind of failed him last year, if I remember correctly. Wasn't able to run. And he's got a really nice Corvette. So I'm really keen to see the Corvette this year. Obviously missed it last year. So excited to see him back this year. And Amanda, curious to see how many events she does. I know she's got a whole bunch of other priorities. So excited to see her back, though. She was definitely getting more consistent last year and putting up serious fights. So Should be a really interesting battle. Obviously seeing Richard, with the working car, and then seeing Amanda back in the seat. And then we got Zendara and Jace. Unfortunately, don't know Jace, but Zendara, another woman in the sport, and this is her. Is it her second or third year? I believe it's her second. And yeah, so second year. She's done a really solid job. By the end of the year, she was much more consistent and much more solid, especially in like lead runs and stuff. So I'm really curious. I know she drives a ton, so I'm really curious to see how the driving and the progression is happening with her. Should be another person to watch this year. Then might as well hit up the rest of the Prospec guys just to see who's running. Hit them up. Obviously, Rudy Hansen won last year. Um, Curious to see if he's running both series. I mean, last I heard he is. And I'm curious to see if it's the same car. But if he is running again this year, obviously he's the guy to beat this year. He won last year. Moving on down, we got Kelsey Rawlings, another veteran of Prospec. She's been around the block, and I think, every year you see her and she's getting more and more consistent. And the thing that's always plagued her has been the car. It seems, getting the steering situated since it's a Ford powered S14. There's not as many universal, components for that kind of engine swap in the S14. So she's always had, little struggles here and there, dealing with that kind of engine in the S14. So curious to see how this year goes for her. Moving on down, Austin Mata, another super consistent driver. Always, looking around, getting through battles. A guy that you'll often see top 8, top 4. I know, talking to him, that he's looking for hard charging for top spot this year. So he's definitely a guy to keep an eye out for. And then you got Alex Yeager. I could say pretty much the same thing about him. Super consistent. Another guy that's always in the mix. So curious to see how both of those guys do it. That'll be, assuming they win whatever seeding bracket battle they have, that's going to be a really good battle between those two guys. Both really good drivers. Moving on down, we got Jack Davis. Jack Davis really kind of, I think at the beginning of the year, he the way that, started, I don't think was great. But by the end of the year, he was, fighting for top 4s and doing really a solid job. So curious to see how he comes out this year. And then you got Connor O'Sullivan, and I believe he's a rookie last year. Did really well, had some really high finishes. Definitely a guy to watch this year. He's got a really fast BMW. Definitely keeping an eye out for Connor. Dimitri, again, really curious to see how the 2-car program works. Especially trying to keep both of them running and going at the same time. He is, a 2-time Prospec champion, and he's a 2-time Prospec champion for a reason. I would definitely keep an eye on him. And I mean, honestly, if Rudy's not running, then it's probably Dimitri's the guy to beat. And then that's not really a hot take, but he always is super consistent, and in my opinion was the best rookie at Long Beach. So really curious. I wonder how the balancing of running both pro and pro spec is going to go with him. And then you got Cody, rookie last year, really showed that he belonged, and is probably going to get obviously has another year under his belt with the new car. So again, another guy keep an eye on. He definitely had some good runs last year. Then you got Cole Richards, a guy I was really impressed with last year. His car was super fast, so I think he might be another, it's not obviously saying much. He got second last year, but another guy to watch for the championship. And he's one of those guys that is super aggressive in the chase, and he's definitely, I'm excited to see his driving and see where it goes. And he's one of those guys that'll push maybe too far sometimes when it comes to the chasing, and it's bit him before. So I'm curious to see if he's learned from that and kind of balanced a little bit better on this chase. Trevor Root, another rookie last year, who had some good success in some of the rounds. And again, a lot of these guys are going to be running BMW's LS platforms, and it just seems like a super solid, reliable. He's another guy that just runs LS BMW, and they seem super competitive. Speaking of LS swapped BMWs, here's Josh Love. He did do a round of pro, or a year of Pro 1, I believe, if I remember correctly. But definitely a Prospec veteran. Always a guy that's, looking to be on top of the box. And, I'm sure he expects to win, obviously with the success he's had in the past. So definitely a guy to is looking to be hard to beat. And then you got Prospec, probably veteran Dustin Miles, low and stylish as always, but still super fast, super reliable when it comes to good lead lines and stuff like that. So definitely another guy that's going to be gunning for top of the box. Really like his driving. And then you got Jeff Donati, rookie. Well, he did run Pro 2 as well back in the day. Came back last year, new car, and really, was solid driver. I think he had an issue or two with the car at the beginning of the year, but by the end of the year, he was a guy that was fighting for podiums, and definitely another solid driver. In which brings me to Jaden, another rookie that came onto the scene last year and did some really solid work in a not so powerful car. So I'm really curious to see what they come out with this year. Another really young driver. I can't remember if he was I can't remember if he's 15 or 16, but he's definitely down there in age. So another kid that obviously grew up on the Sims and is showing it's paying off. And then on the bottom down here we got Nate Chen. Another this is FRS, or yeah, it's probably an FRS is what he's driving. And another solid driver that's always in the mix and seems to be progressing. I think last year, or this is probably his third year. Definitely a guy that's trying to make a name for himself, and I think has gotten more seat time in that car, and really is curious to see where he goes this year. Same with Farouk. Obviously he's running in Pro 1 before. Just a fun, outgoing guy. Just loves to drive, and you never really can count him out. He's one of those guys that can put on some incredible chase runs, and the thing is about looking at all this list. It's like there is so much talent in here. It's not just a good top 32. Like there's a lot of these battles are going to be really fun to watch, and I'm excited. This is probably the most stacked, I would say, a Prospec field, at least that I've seen, is going to be. And I'm really, really excited for this year. All right, let me swap back over. Is this the one? I think it is. Hey, there's everyone. So yeah, I'm curious, guys, if you guys are in the chat, what's your battles are you guys looking for? I'm really curious on a lot of these. It should be a lot of fun. I'm excited. And the thing is the veterans that I would say, all those guys that were already grandfathered into driving on Sunday, or no, it would be Saturday, I believe, because the top 30, whatever, top 48, top 64 knockout is going to be on Friday. So whoever's, or maybe it is Thursday. I have to look at a schedule. Obviously, missed out. I gotta read that. But the final day, so the top main event, top 32. Those guys are all heavy hitters and girls. You got Kelsey in there. Those are all heavy hitters. So there is no real easy way to get through that bracket, even if you do win your initial battle into the event. So I I'm definitely excited, and top 16 is going to be pretty rowdy. I think you guys are going to be pretty impressed with the level of driving this year with these drivers. And the thing is like we're not going into any new tracks this year. These are all tracks that a lot of the like guys that have driven in Prospec last year, they've all driven them, so they all have data on these tracks. And I think they're going to have their cars set up, and they're not going into this blind, which is been issues in the past. With some of the like you go to a new track like Utah, and it's a giant track. It's a very difficult track. Definitely not an easy one. Not like where you in New Jersey you got a figure eight. That's a much simpler track, much slower track, easier to learn than a place like Utah. And so, the first round at Utah was hit or miss on some of the battles. So I think events like that, and even coming back to Atlanta last year was the first year they had Prospec in a couple years there. So I think just that the fact that they're going to the same tracks this year, I think is going to really benefit these guys, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun out here. All right, let's check out the seating bracket for the pros. Should be fun. Let's swap over the screen. Boom. All right. Boom. So we got Diego Higa gets the bye run. That's it's awesome to see. That means we get all the Brazilians for the final top 32. Excited for that. Awesome. And then we got Derek Madison, Dimitri Brewski, an old Prospec rivalry. So actually, yeah. So that'll be a really fun one. I'm excited to see which one of those rookies is going to come out of that, because if no matter what, we're going to get one of those guys to get their first chance at a top 32 bracket, which is going to be good to see. Obviously, it'll be interesting to see if Derek can make it out. I know he's had a ton of issues getting his car back from Long Beach, had truck issues, and it just sounds like a nightmare going on with him. So I really hope he can get the car together and can make it out to Atlanta, because it'd be a really bummer to see him unfortunately not make it out. And then obviously, like I said, Dimitri I thought was the best driving rookie in Long Beach. It was really unfortunate that, unless you consider Connor Shanahan a rookie, which I really don't. But I really thought his driving and the way he put up that battle with Connor Shanahan was awesome. So a guy to definitely watch. I don't, unfortunately, Michael. I don't know if he got the truck back or not. I mean, what I do, I know he doesn't have this truck back. The question is whether or not. I know the car made it to Stukey's place, but apart from that, I haven't really been able to check in with him. It's really bummer of a situation. I feel so bad for him. But yeah, and then the next battle down is going to be Mike Power and Dan Burkett. That's going to be a fun one. Obviously, Mike Power had a really bad crash in Long Beach. Felt really bad for him. Like, it was a nasty crash. When he hit the wall, the car did not move at all. It just went straight into it. And definitely was bent frame and looked like he was going to have to take it to a frame shop to get that fixed, which I know is not cheap. So he hoping he gets that car back to 100%, because it was looking great at Long Beach. And obviously everyone knows Dan Burkett. He's wild and always loves to have a good time. So that'll be a fun battle between two great looking cars. And then at the bottom we got Kyle Mohan, Connor Shanahan. We got the vet of Mohan, and then you got actually, Connor won't be here. I just thought of that. I just remembered, because DMEC is this weekend, and he's running that series, all 6 rounds. So Kyle looks like he's going to get a bye into top 32. Then up top here, we got Jeff Jones and Rudy Hansen. Man, talk about just a good old fashioned battle here. Like this is, I'm excited for these guys. Both these guys are super competitive. Love to have fun. Obviously, Rudy had the really bad crash at Long Beach, and I can't imagine that car was 100% when he was doing his battles. So I think him with a refreshed car and back in, like a not bent up car that has just been folded in half basically. I think I'm really curious to see how his super aggressive style is going to be with Jeff Jones, who's going to be super consistent, super solid, and with his 370Z, I think that's going to be a really fun battle. And then moving down, oh boy, Ryan Littrell, Ben Hobson. I think, okay, hear me out, guys. I think if Ryan Littrell's got his car running and it's solid, this battle is going to be pretty fire. Because Ben Hobson, we know, is a good, consistent driver, but he's new into the Mustang, so you got to drive it a certain way. This will be his first time driving the Mustang in Atlanta, so I think that aspect with Littrell is a really good driver, and if that car is working, I think that's going to be a pretty spicy battle, and has the elements to be a lot of fun, I think. And then you got Zhao Barrion and Federico. Zhao and Federico are two guys that just seem like they just have bad car luck, it seems. And Federico, you got your one-off parts for the Ferrari, and then Zhao is just, the gremlins with his car just seem to keep him out of so many battles. So I'm curious. Unfortunately, I think this might be a battle of who has the car running, and running well. So this will be and it'll be a chance for each one of these guys, to get into a top 32, and hopefully they can get some consistency and kind of show us what they can do. Because obviously Zhao, I think, has made it to top 4 one year, and these guys got talent. It's just getting the car to show off that talent. So should be a good early battle. And then we got good old Andy and Vaughn Gittin Jr. Man, really feel bad for Andy. He's like, hey, here's the guy that won last year. Good luck. But obviously Vaughn, we all know, is no slouch and won the event last year. So welcome to pro, Andy. And yeah, so obviously Andy being a rookie this year, getting everything sorted with him. I know he was having power steering issues at Long Beach. Unfortunately, wasn't able to drive the car to his fullest there. So I'm hoping he's got that stuff figured out, and that's gonna be a tough one for him though, because obviously you just saw Vaughn testing that car. That thing is gonna be hooked up. So another fun battle going on there. But yeah. So that's kind of your intro for Atlanta. I got a couple other things I was thinking about, talking about. We got, the fact that, Adam LZ, and let's see, Adam is, I have the other thing pulled up. Where is he? Is he not on here? Oh yeah, he is. He's going against Matt Field. Oh yeah, so they that's right. They have battles too. We can check those out real quick just to have some fun. I love talking about these battles. It gets me hyped for the weekend. Let's go back to second screen. There it is. All right, so obviously up here we got Trent Beecham and Dylan Hughes. 2 BMWs, 2 guys, super solid, Trenton's definitely gotten a lot more consistent over the last, season and a half in that BMW, and then Dylan, always a ripper. Could be a fun battle there. You got Adam LZ and Matt Field. That's gonna be a fun battle. I think Adam, obviously with the BMW, he's super at home with it. Super loves driving the thing, and then Matt Field, obviously no joke there. He's a guy that is finished second overall a couple years now, so he's no joke, and that'll be a fun first battle to see there. Moving down, we got Jonathan. Ooh, this will be a good one. Jonathan Hurst and Forrest Wang. I'm late. Are you gonna upload all the Long Beach runs? What do you mean by that, Malik? Um, I'm not just gonna upload all of my just raw footage, if that's kind of what you're looking for. I haven't had time to do a whole lot of editing. Just been working on a bunch of house projects lately. But moving into the Jonathan Hurst Forest Wang battle, super fun battle. Obviously, Forest Wang on I think it's Vitor Towers now. So curious to see where he, how he fares. And then actually, Jonathan Hurst made the switch from Vitor to Kenda. So, and that's going to lead me into a conversation after I go through these battles. I'm really curious about the tires this weekend. Forest Wing and Jonathan Hurst, mark that one down. I think that's going to be a pretty spicy one. Down at the bottom here, we got Daniel Stuckey and Kazuya Taguchi. Stuckey with the new car this year, looking super smooth. Super interesting strategy with him where the car is super, super light and he's running a super small tire. So it's a really interesting strategy for Stuckey. I'm curious to see how it's going to pay off this weekend. And obviously Kazuya, this is no joke. Kazuya is, I would consider an FD veteran at this point, and he pulls tons of great battles and wins. So again, another super solid battle going on there. And then up here we got Robert Thorne and Jonathan Castro. Castro, the veteran here. Thorne looking a lot better this year with his car already in battles. I think that's going to be a pretty fun one. Especially with Thorne, being more consistent. And that car is super fast. And, obviously with Castro's chase ability, always a great time seeing him battle. Then down here we got Ryan Turk, Alec Robbins. Alec Robbins, trying to get the consistency out of that car has always been his thing. He can put down runs. It's just doing it consistently. And then you have Turk with the new engine program in his GR Corolla. He beat the crap out of that thing in Long Beach. So curious to see where he goes from here, and whether he's a little bit nicer about with the car this weekend. Moving on down, we got Dean Kearney, Brandon Sorensen, two fast guys. This will be a fun one. Dean Kearney's always pushing the limits out there, and then you have Brandon Sorensen, who is super consistent, super solid driver, very young, but has lots of seat time. Definitely a guy to watch this year to see him move up the standings and see how high he can get, because he gets the seat time. I'm really curious to see, what he does this year. And then down at the bottom, we got Taylor Hall and Chris Forsberg. Another fun battle here. Taylor Hall is always in the mix. And then you have Chris Forsberg, who is super solid, super smooth, always there. And actually, I believe he did really well in Atlanta last year, if I'm not mistaken. Really good at. He seems to be really good at this track. Obviously, it comes with however many years he's been driving this track. I feel like it's 14, 15 years. So he's got plenty of experience at the track, and I think he really puts that to his advantage at this round. But yeah, should be a good time. Again, with obviously with Vaughn starting in the first bracket, anything can happen, but it really makes it interesting because you don't know who's going against who until they finish that first day for all these other guys. Really makes it fun, And there was one other topic that I actually wanted to quick grab, and it was the tires. And I was curious what you guys were thinking about this. So obviously, Long Beach isn't really a tire. What's the word I'm looking for? Differentiator. Where it's not like a super hard on the tires, like as far as getting or just like seeing the tire life, like other tracks. And a lot of the time you can cut the line there enough to, even if you have a slower tire, you can usually keep up with most people. Atlanta, you can't do that. Atlanta, you need to be fast. You need to be on throttle just as the other guys getting on throttle, and sometimes you're able to use the tire to make up if you're a little late for getting on throttle in areas. And this track really separates the tires because it's a lot about drag racing up the hill, transitioning down, and then drag racing back down. And that's where I'm really interesting to see because Vitor has already proven they are solid tires. They've gotten some good results last year. Kenda's got a new tire this year. Everyone I've talked to that's run the Kenda tires so far, it really likes them and says they're way better than last year. So I'm curious to see. I'm looking at you, Michael. Like I agree. Like is our Kenda's going to be a problem now? Because last year, unfortunately, they seem to be a liability. And yeah, I think Kenda is the really interesting factor here. And then you also have Kumo. No one really knows much about Kumo as of like how fast they are. The funny thing about Kumo is I believe they're the first tire that got a rain tire approved. So let's say it rains in Atlanta, which it happens. I remember a couple years ago it did, and they have a rain tire that's approved in FD. I think they're the only tire manufacturer that's ever done that. And so I'm really curious to see. Unfortunately, when it rained in Long Beach, none of the Kumo guys were left. But I'm curious to see at which event they throw out these rain tires and if it's going to be a big deal or not. Should be really interesting to see. What do you guys think? Obviously GT Radial's super solid tire. Everyone knows that, and you can win on a GT Radial no problem. We've seen it plenty. And then obviously Nitto's been always been top of the pack for a while now. So reason why I'm not really divesting into those guys because they've already proven themselves. But we got these other tires that are really interesting, and then you got Nexon, super solid mid-level tire that has always been throughout the year. What's up? What are you guys saying? So, what's up, Steve? I talked to Dustin Dean Carney. Really loved the GTs, and they were the best tire he had run prior to trying the Kumos. Yeah, so that's what I heard. I talked to Denofa, and he said the fastest tires are the GT radios when you look at size for size. He said GT radios were the fastest tire, but that was before obviously the new Kendas were out and stuff like that. So, obviously with Nittos you got the giant tire size, so you have a lot more play, I guess, when you on what's the word tire pressures and stuff like that to get grip in different areas. But yeah, Vitors even at the level picking up steam. Yeah, I've seen a bunch of people running Vitors even at the Pro-Am level. It seems to be a solid tire that isn't stupid expensive, and should be an evening the playing field in a lot of areas, where some of the other tires are quite expensive. But yeah, Nexons I heard is more lower end. Yeah, it's kind of what I've heard too, Steven. The Nexons, they're solid. They work though. That's the thing. Like they've been around for long enough to where like they're a solid enough tire that you can get around solidly enough. So I wouldn't say they were necessarily a detriment. Like unfortunately, like it was what it seemed like Kenda was last year, where a lot of those guys were really struggling. Interesting, Steven. Do you think sellers are coming? That'd be interesting. I haven't really seen a pro level tire, I guess you could really say, from Accelera, at least one that people have really liked. So I'm curious to see if they come out with something new. And the thing with the Atlanta is who's got the fastest tires. If I remember correctly, I don't think tire degradation is a big issue at this track, like it is at like for say Orlando, where they eat those tires. So that's kind of where we get to see all these new tires and where they're actually at, which I'm excited for. Also, what do you guys think for, winners? Who are you picking for this round? Obviously, Vaughn won last year, kind of a storybook. Goes all the way, new guy. Oh, Adam tested secret acceleras. Interesting. That should be interesting. But yeah, who do you guys think is gonna be on top of the box? There's just so many good drivers in pro. I don't know why. But Chris always seems to do really good here. I think I'm picking Chris Forsberg for the win at this one, which is, kind of boring. But I think Chris, with his experience of this track, and I remember watching. I was going when I was making the big edit, the Let's Get Hype series video, and doing the Atlanta one. I remember watching a lot of his clips. Do his transitions were awesome. He's a great chaser at this track. So I think Chris is who I would think is gonna do well. But it's drifting, so it's pretty much near impossible to pick winners at these events. It's not like back when James Dean and Peter were running, and it was just like, okay, seems like those guys are on top a lot. So now it's all anyone's game here, and I love it. Interesting, Michael. Manoa and Hobson are definitely guys to watch for sure. And here's the thing with like a guy like Manoa that you got to remember that this is his first time driving these tracks. Obviously, he's got a lot of help from Taguchi, and he's a great driver. But I feel like there's a lot that comes with experience in technical tracks like Atlanta is, and knowing on when to be on and off throttle, especially going through areas where you can't see anything coming back down the hill and into transitions. So I'm really curious to see, because they really don't get a ton of practice. They get some decent practice, but especially with Prospec being there, their practice is kind of limited, and it's unfortunate for the rookies. Guys that haven't guys that haven't driven Atlanta. So it'll be really hard for, I guess, for Manoa, I think, to really show his stuff, if that makes sense. Yeah, I agree, Steve. Ben's definitely, he's talented, but you got to remember he's in a new car, and those Mustangs drive completely different than the S chassis he was in last year. So that's my biggest thing with Hobson is how long is it going to take for him to adapt to the car? I mean, how long did it take Chelsea Denofa to adapt to an RTR Mustang? Or even James Dean last year. Like, he wasn't on top of every race last year, like with the RTR Mustang, because it's a totally different way to drive than I would assume his S chassis that he brought over last time, or any of those other cars. So, you got to think of that for Ben too. Like, it can't be easy just jumping into a car like that and trying to drive like he drove the S chassis last year. But yeah, and you're right, Steven. James is definitely super comfy in the RTR. And, that's the thing is, like, he's got a year in that car now. So how is he going to be this year? Is he going to be the James Dean of old, or is he still going to be semi-handicapped with, maybe the size of the Mustang where he can't be as nimble as he was in, say, the S chassis? I see you, Malik. Yeah, Odie or Simon. And that's a really good pick. Odie and Simon both were, and I don't know if you guys saw my last stream, but Simon was my driver of the weekend. Like, he was my favorite driver that weekend as far as the amount of angle he was throwing in the dry. I kind of discount everything in the wet because kind of turned into a crapshoot at that point. But when it was dry, he was putting down some amazing runs. So Simon is just becoming home in that S15. Definitely a guy to watch as well this weekend. I agree on that one. Saloon, Baby Yaga. Saloon was supposed to be testing a new tire as well. Now, I don't know if I know Salon. think Chris or Ryan Turk. Interesting. That'd be interesting. You think Phil gets the championship, Malik? That's a pretty good bet, honestly. Uh, the number one issue, Malik, with Phil winning a championship this year is themselves. That is the number one problem. I Because I don't know why, but it always seems like Odie and Simon get paired up together in battles and they knock each other out, and then they take out the points for one of their drivers. So I know it happened last year. So I think that is going to be a big problem possibly for them this year, is because they're both so good that, they get to top 8 or top 4 and they're knocking each other out and they're taking a bunch of points away from their teammate. So it's something to keep in mind. What's up, Tristan? Odie and Simon definitely came out. Yeah, they came out swinging at Long Beach. I agree. Yeah, and the guy that I originally was thinking, to look out for the season itself is going to be Ryan Turk, because I'm really curious to see what he does with those extra 2 cylinders in that car and the improved power band, because that Corolla has always driven well and has always been super consistent. It's just you're trying to make 1,000 horsepower on a 4 cylinder. The power delivery has got to be somewhat limited. So him I think him this season is a guy to watch overall for the season. I really like that chassis, as far as like always seems super stable. RTR is an amazing training program. It'd be interesting to see kind of what China training Ben has gone through and into that car. Oh yeah, it is an S14.9, isn't it? You know what, Steven? It's hard to see some of the times. Okay. I feel like O's car might be better to get used to versus RTR. 100%. I believe Odie's cars are 1,000 times easier to drive than the RTR cars. Because Odie's cars probably drive like similarly to other drift cars. They're just fast as hell, Where the RTR cars really don't drive like anything else that people can drive on their own. Just the way that they're built and the engines that they have in them, and just everything about those cars is just very unique to them, which makes them special and makes them cool, And it's the way that RTR has gone about things is they've really tried to push the limits of drifting and what drifting can be. And basically, as they make it, it's basically who can, build the best drag race setup and still spin tires at the same time with those guys, But I think Ryan's biggest hurdle is himself. I personally feel that he overcooks it too often, knocks himself out, probably in an unpopular opinion, but most but just my observation. Tristan, I agree. And that's the thing with Ryan, is it's a mental thing with him, but I've seen so much talent and consistency out of him. I'm really curious to see what the upgraded engine platform is going to do for him this year. Just an example, as of Simon Olsen, upgrading into moving from the Supra into Odie's S chassis, and just he felt at home and he was able to really show off his talents, because he was struggling in that Supra. So it's really, getting consistency and, making sure that you're not compromising in any area of the car. If you go look at Odie's cars, they are not compromised in any way but to go fast and drive well. Same with, the RTR cars. As if where the Supra, you might not have the R&D available to go that fast, Oh, what's up, baby Yaga? I would like to see El Jefe make it to the grade 8 at least again. Oh, I love Jeff Jones. You know what? If I could vote for someone to make top 16 every event, it's going to be Jeff Jones, because he always does amazing dances in his top 16 intros. Shout out to Jeff. He needs to make top 16 every round. But yeah, and the thing with Jeff is, it just seems like you gotta push that extra tenth with him. He can put down solid runs all day, every day, but it's just pushing it that extra tenth, to make it the judge vote for you. Malik Field might be on a mission since he's had that mechanical failure at Long Beach. Dude, I felt so bad for him. He had such a bad Long Beach as far as like mechanically. He went through an engine. He had all kinds of steering issues. Like that car, I think he had 3 runs all weekend before competition. So Matt Field, I'm sure, is gonna be on a mission, like you said, to get back into the title fight, and he's always a guy that's pushing it in Atlanta. So again, another guy. You're right. And that's the thing with FD is there's so many guys that you could talk yourself into. That you could talk yourself into. Hey, this guy looks really good. And the good question I'm always asking is, when is Jonathan Hurst going to break through to that next level? Like he's always a guy that's putting on amazing chases and having a great time. Car sounds awesome and stuff. When's he going to break through? And guys like, Adams obviously had a bunch of potential. He's actually won around, and how is he going to be in the BMW? And there's all kinds of guys that you can talk yourself into, and seeing, the guy that we're probably forgetting and is probably going to win this year is Freddie Cosby. Let's be honest here, because that's how things go. But Freddie's, always one of the most consistent drivers out there and is an amazing driver. Even the amount of times I've seen Freddie hit the wall and save his car from hitting the front end of the wall, miraculously, have no idea how he does it. And I'm just like, wow, that's one of the most impressive things I've seen. Like, you can see door-to-door tandems all day and stuff, but when you almost crash a car and save it, from what I look like is going to be a guaranteed crash, I'm impressed by that, because there's the amount of times he's done that is incredible, and I'm just like, wow, that's some car control right there. Long Beach is a war zone for most guys. I agree, Tristan. It was not nice, especially to the rookies. Like, there were a ton of cars that were just destroyed, and Long Beach is, unfortunately, in my opinion, the worst track to start with, because it is such a war zone. And it stinks that it starts there, but they don't really have much of a choice. They have to go when the Grand Prix goes. So it is what it is. Malik, what do you think will who do you think will make a return next year? Hold up. Let me Candace first. Candace, what's your thoughts on Nick Novak? With Nick, he really turned. Here's the thing with Nick. Last year he showed so much potential, especially at the end of the year, winning the event, and he has it. But the thing is I feel like sometimes he just pushes it that little bit too much, kind of similar to like Alec Robbins, where he sometimes just pushes it just that too much, and it just doesn't always pan out for him. So with him, he has the potential to, and his lead runs usually are always super solid. And with him, he just super pushes all the time. So it's always 10-10s with Nick. And the thing is, if he makes it stick, it's going to be a good event for him, And yeah, definitely a guy that you can talk yourself into. Hey, maybe he gets top 5 this year, like maybe he's in there every round, just knocking in the top 8s, top 16s, maybe even like in a podium finish again. Like, he's a guy that, has been super, like, improved from when he first jumped into FD. So, super shout out to him for, the improvement in his driving, and that car he's got is no joke either. All right, Malik, who do you think will make a return next year? I hope Peter returns in his old You know how amazing it would be to see Peter out there with the S15? That would be so cool. It'd be so sick. I love that car so much. But I know he wants to come back. It's just, making all make sense, especially the fact that DMEC and FD have conflicting dates. It really makes it hard, to justify coming out here to run a FD season if you're not going to compete for a championship. So that's the hardest thing. I know, for those guys is, it's a really expensive deal unless you're coming here for a ride and drive like James Dean or something. Like, it's hard to come over here and run your own program if you don't live here. Just ask all the guys from Brazil that come up here, or Federico and those guys. Like, they don't live here, but they got a program they're trying to run here. So it's super, super, super hard to do that. Um, but it would be so sick to have him back out here. Um, yeah, yeah, Candace. He lost his friend last year. Oh yeah, yeah. I remember that. Hearing about that. That was rough. Yeah, sorry about that, Candace. But he, he like I said, he's gotten super solid. So definitely a guy to watch this year for sure. Steven, I don't think he will be used as S15 if he was to return. Maybe the Supra. You know, I don't know. Because he's already got the S15 there. It would be kind of easy for him to just send the S15 over and just leave the Supra over in Europe and run the Supra at DMEC, and then run the S15 here. S15 here would be interesting to see, or maybe vice versa. Bring the Supra over here, leave the S15 over there. But I think he could build another S Supra if he wanted to as well. But I'm curious to see how he does with the Supra though this year, especially with it being a newer car. And you know obviously his S15 was a rocket ship. So is it going to be a rocket ship like it was in the S15? But yeah, man, yeah, this stream actually turned out pretty long, pretty fun actually. I just get talking about stuff and I just keep going. I'm excited. Obviously, we'll be live. Herbie unfortunately couldn't make it out tonight. He's helping out by Strat get his car put together and stuff. But he will be running a lot of the live streams this week, this upcoming weekend in Atlanta. We might be doing a couple extra streams because I'm gonna be there super early. I'm literally flying out there Monday tomorrow. Because I gotta help, with check-in and everything, film. I'm gonna do Prospec intros and stuff like that. What's up, Miles? I see Jonathan Hurst on a podium. One of these days, Hurst is gonna get a podium. I just don't know if it's gonna be Atlanta, but he will get a podium, and probably in the next. Should I say this year? I think he might get a podium this year. He's one of those guys that just, man, he puts on good runs. Um, Tristan Lucky. Well, I mean, you got to think about it too. Now I'm away from the family and the dog for over a week now instead of like a couple days like it would normally would be. But it's for checking in all the Prospect guys. I'm gonna be doing like little interviews with all those guys and getting to meet all the new Prospect dudes. So that'll be really fun, really cool to see. I always love meeting all the seeing all the builds and whatnot and talking to those guys. But yeah, so we'll see if we do little live, talk to some of the guys in the pits before, like a day or two before the event's going on. See if we see people out there and whatnot. It should be a fun week. And obviously we'll be streaming practice. I'm gonna try and set up some actual like timetables for when those are coming out, or like previews or whatever they're called, so that you guys have at least something that you can hit notifications to and get loaded up for when it actually does happen. I'm really bad about that. It's just with Long Beach, I just wanted to make sure we were cool with doing live stream stuff still. I'm not trying to step on FD's toes and whatnot if they don't want me doing things. So it's just how it is. So this event, I'll have a lot more structured. Hey, this is when it's going to happen, kind of thing, and make sure we tell you what it is and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, and Atlanta's such a good track for live streaming at because you're right there and you get to see a lot of the run, and it's a lot of fun. There's always drama there. So, but yeah, what's up, Steven? I feel like he got wronged in Long Beach, in my opinion, but I haven't watched the full video. I understand the call, but I feel like, and I agree. I thought the way the rules worked that Hirsch should have won the first battle because Dean zeroed on his lead. But I don't make the decision, so I obviously don't know the rules good enough, I guess. But yeah, even the second battle, I thought he did better. But it's one of those things where you just got to break through, and once you're breaking through and stuff, I think he's going to be a force to reckon with. And it's great to see that he's driving well in the new car. Like a lot of the times you see a guy with a new car and it doesn't look that good. So I'm really happy to see that he's really at home in the car, and he just needs to get some dang lights on that thing that aren't hideous because, boy, I don't know if you guys saw it, but they were kind of silly and it bucked me. But yeah, I mean, Hurst is always one of those guys you're trying to pull for, just he's a lot more grassroots than some of the other guys out there. But where do you think the best spot to post up to watch at the track is? Oh man, I don't even know if you have assigned seats there, but if you want to see the entire run, but you don't care about being the closest, you need to be like. So obviously they go up the hill and they do the little circle and they come back down. You got to be kind of down where they come back down so that you don't get smoked out up at the corkscrew. So kind of like where they have the road that goes into the track, kind of like where they initiate at. The farther down you can get down there, you can see the whole run. Actually, like the hill. So not the bowl itself, but the hill kind of by where they enter on the inside where a lot of people camp out. You can see the entire battle from there. That's a really cool angle. But yeah, I think the closer you can kind of be to entry, the more you're going to see of the run. Because if you're up in the bowl, you'll probably get smoked out when they transition to go back down the hill. Steven, where? Tristan, I'm gonna try for next year only. About 4 hour ride for me. Yeah, I mean, if there is an FD event that you want to make, it's Atlanta because the crowd is by far probably one of the most fun there. I love Atlanta. Atlanta's in the atmosphere, the way that you see the track, like everything is so cool there. You're right there. Atlanta's definitely the event to go to, but Seattle's fun. Seattle. I like filming Seattle because you can get really close and stuff and get some cool shots. But as far as like spectating, Atlanta's the one to go to. Yeah. Although I do end up shooting through the fence a lot, Steven. Like, that's something that I have to get used to as well. Like, obviously Atlanta's great because there's no fence, but like most of the tracks we go to, I'm shooting through fences and, just learning how to hold focus through all of the fences and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's been a huge, just learning process and shooting through and making sure, you got some lenses and some gear that has fast enough shutters to shoot through that stuff so you're not seeing the fence and whatnot. And like I get the feeling of shooting through fences because I do it a lot. Yeah. And up in the spotters up in Seattle. Yeah. Yeah, seeing all the spotters freak out is always good fun. But yeah, think it's already almost 10 o'clock here. Dang, and I got work tomorrow. So, probably should start ending this off. But again, thank you guys for. One question from Malik: does your camera or phone ever overheat? I have a Sony FX3 and it's never overheated, and I've basically thrown that thing in the dirt, and it's awesome. That has not overheated. What I have to do for the phone to do live streaming, there's literally like a $25 little fan that you can put on the back of the phone, and it works amazing actually. And that I have to run that on hot days to not have the iPhone overheat for live streaming. So yes, I do run a fan on the phone for live streaming. But yeah, guys, thanks again for hanging out. It's just wanted do something for people that are going into the weekend, and obviously we don't always get a chance to talk to you guys when we're filming. So I appreciate you guys coming and hanging out. And if you haven't subscribed or liked or whatever, you can do that. But I just appreciate hanging out with people, talking to people about FD. I don't get to do it a whole lot, so unless I'm there, so it's kind of a nice little getaway to talk about FD a little bit, since I'm so involved with it. It seems like nowadays, but yeah, I think I'm gonna end it off here, and thanks guys for watching.